ES Cinder, a remix of Dark Souls 3 by Rotaka. Folks, you know what that song means.
I sure do.
Good. I'm so glad that every time at least one person knows what that song means.
It's true. It's the never-ending sadness of the world right now, right? No.
Oh
It's a break from that.
no, it is a break from that. Good. Whew. Jeez, I was about to say, do you really know what that song means? It doesn't sound like you do.
Well,
But hey, hooray, it's insert credits, round 85, the worst Santa. Well, I'm
and
not.
also the last month of the year.
Also, the last month of 2020. Get the fuck out of here, 2020. Just go.
Y- Yep.
Just get out of here. Well, I'm not the progenitor of this month's title, so you're gonna have to explain.
Well,
Tormod.
okay. So, a Christmas tradition of mine, thank you, Saxon, has been to watch Bad Santa. And apparently Bad Santa 2 came out, I guess.
Hmm.
I think I need to look
Really?
that up real quick. No, not Bad Stand 2. Come on, typing.
Hmm.
Yes, Bad Santa 2 was released in 2016, so I have to watch that. But I can only imagine that because like now we're getting to the point where there has to be a trilogy because there's already two. Because it's 2020, it has to be the worst Santa.
Okay.
So, yeah. I
Why?
mean,
What?
I was really stretching for that one, but you know.
Is Bad Santa 2 subtitled Worst Santa or Badder Santa or something like that?
I don't believe it has a subtitle.
Or the Santa Ing or Electric
Oh no.
Boogaloo or
Electra Santaloo?
Electric Santaloo or some
Yeah.
weirdo thing like that that sequels always do.
Yeah, no, I don't think IMDb. Hold on, let me double check that real quick here. Oh, why? No, why? Why did you? I don't know anymore.
So
Um,
knowing how sequels tend to go, though, like my feeling is that Bad Santa 2 is probably worse.
well, I mean,
Probably
let
worse.
hey, Rotten Tomatoes, what do you have to say about this?
Oh, I'm gonna say like
Uh,
30. I'm gonna give it a solid 30.
for which score?
For the user score, I guess. Is that what they do?
They do two. They do the tomato meter and the audience score.
Oh, I'm gonna say 30 on the tomato meter.
You're being
Tomatometer.
very
Is
generous.
that really too generous? Wow. Okay, I thought that was being kind of conservative with my guess.
No, it is
Ugh.
a solid 24%.
Ouch.
Now I have to see what the first one is because I've already, distracted
Yeah, well,
myself
we're
enough
already
here.
down that hole. Let's go.
All right. Bad Santa came out in 2003. Wow, that one's 79%.
Ooh, all right.
So this one's a real shitter. Okay, cool. I'm definitely looking forward to that one now. I can rent it on Prime Video, I
There
guess.
you go.
Yay.
Holiday tradition is saved.
Yep. Also, what's the other one that you and I always watched? I always forget it
For
because it's not Mission
Christmas?
Impossible.
Die Hard?
Die Hard, thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know why
that's a
that
good
name just
tradition.
always escapes me, but it's when we lived with each other, it was a thing that we always did. So,
Oh, oh, it's always been a thing that I've always done regardless, like of circumstance. I didn't realize we had continued that. That's pretty awesome.
oh yeah, no, we
Um,
did. And then we also ended up watching Terminator movies. And
oh,
no, it was actually just Arnold Schwarzenegger movies,
oh
but
yeah, that
yeah.
could be. I have quite a few of those.
Uh-huh.
It's funny.
Anyhow.
It's funny that you bring that up because myself and Boris and 006 are going to be watching Die Hard tomorrow.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It's
Cool.
kind of the Christmas tradition. We'll see if we get through both one and two since they're both Christmas movies.
Right.
I don't know. It depends. Like tomorrow would have been our co-op on second Saturday of the month, but we just kind of were like, we just want to hang out for a bit. Let's just watch Die Hard. It's like okay,
Sounds great.
we'll see how it goes. I don't know how we're gonna do it exactly, whether it's like Zoom or Meet or Discord or something, but we'll work
Yeah,
something out.
something. Whatever.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm MrBond.
And I'm Tormod.
That's got to be one
Yeah.
of the probably longer rambling intros that we've ever had, and I'm proud of us.
Yeah, I mean, oh fuck.
Yeah, right. Well, welcome
Uh-huh.
everybody to Insert Credits, round 85. This is a show where we talk about video games. We talk about news, and then we listen to some tunes, and then we talk about what we've been playing, and then we listen to more tunes, and then we talk about some ad hoc design, which is really exciting. It's a really exciting thing that we've been doing probably since the early teens of the rounds of the shows, right? I don't think we
I'd
did we
say
have
so.
it from the very start. Do you remember?
Uh hmm.
I don't think we did. I think that was something we put in the like the second variation of it or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Whatever.
But whatever, it's here now and it's here to stay because it's a real good fixture in our little show layout here. But let's take
Heck
care
yeah.
of some housekeeping first, since this is the last month of 2020. Hoorah rah!
Thank fuck.
Yes, also that it means we need to start looking at 2021 for round 86 in January.
Oh, getting me all excited here. All right, let me get my calendar open here. I got to be all official.
Yeah, it looks like maybe the 15th dead center of the month, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea considering I think AGDQ is still the week before it, even though it's online.
Correct. Yeah, I think you're right about that.
And I'm probably going to
Uh,
want to slum it that whole week and just watch the dang thing.
yeah,
So,
sounds good. So I guess we'll put that. We'll put round 86 on the 15th of January,
sounds
2021,
awesome.
7 p.m. CST. Can we look ahead to February right away? Maybe
I suppose.
the 12th, either the 12th or the 19th. I'm not partial to either of them, but
Let's shoot for the 12th.
12th it is. Okay.
So that'll keep Valentine's weekend open for
That's right.
spending time with
It,
Valentine.
it is.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
uh,
So that is pretty good. I don't know if we want to go more than two out.
nah.
Two
I mean,
seems like a nice even number. Haha.
we may have, a fiery apocalypse before then, so
That is true. Uh, don't know how I feel about that, but I guess
well,
it's just something we'll have to deal with if and or when it happens.
eh,
Okay, other quick housekeeping note, you may notice our smiling-ish faces now finally showing up in proper format. Hello, and we can actually both see each other now, I think, right? I don't think we ever
yes.
confirmed that. All right, cool, 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 cool. This is kind of a layout that we trialed last month. Worked pretty well. It was a little bit
Mhm.
slapdash put together because I had to do
You
it in
know.
like 2 hours and then tweak it minutes, I mean, hours before the show, a couple days before the show, even.
Yes.
Um, but this is good. Whether it's us two, myself and Tormod, or if it's the three of us, myself, Tormod, and Saxon, we've got
Mhm.
stuff to cover that, and we'll kind of continue with this. I think it was time for a little tiny refresh of it, and it kind of
Oh,
came in at the
yes.
right time. Still could probably use a little bit of a refresh. It's looking kind of stale to me, but that's just me looking at the design that I did and going, that's not great. But
You know,
we'll figure it out.
so I just realized, well, here's some news for you, probably completely unrelated to games at all, because that's what I do.
Naturally.
Um, so recently built a house, moved in at the beginning of September, determined that the paint on the interior of the house is absolute garbage and already want to redo it. And I realized that some of the blues that we had been looking at are really close to the insert credits blue.
Nice. There you
So I
go.
was just like, hey, that looks really familiar. That's Rainfall or whatever the heck it was. So
Okay,
anyway.
I can kind of see it. You could take in you could print out a color swatch and try to really match it exactly or something if you really wanted
Yeah.
to.
Hey, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a nice, pleasant blue. It's not quite pure blue. There's a touch of green in there. I've always been
Oh yeah.
a fan of the very slight mix.
You know
Um,
what? Huh. I'm gonna now that I have this PNG file here, I'm gonna go
you're
side
gonna
by side.
you're
Oh
gonna eye
dang,
for
that
eye for
looks
it.
super close to Salty Dog. That's actually one of the colors that we were gonna use too. I wonder what the light blue looks like. That looks like Connor's Lakefront. Jeez, I have good taste. Anyway, yeah,
Wow.
I'm all excited for color in the house, but
I would say nerd, but who are we kidding?
nerd.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, well, housekeeping, both literal and scheduling wise, taken care
Oof.
of, right? Let's get to around the world. Let's get to some news. So the first item I've got here is something that actually happened prior to our previous show in November, but kind of the news about it didn't really break until afterward. That in early November, probably the first week or so, Capcom suffered a ransomware attack.
Oh.
And that's not great. They initially claimed that no personal information was lost, everybody was safe or whatever. But following a 2 or so week internal investigation, they came out and said, "Oh, okay, well, up to 350,000 people might have had their information leaked." Luckily, it didn't include credit cards or socials or anything like that. But it could have included. Nobody's ever really sure about these things because you can't really be sure. Names, addresses, phone numbers, and emails. On
Hmm.
top of that, some Capcom employees may also have had their passport information and signatures leaked.
Woof.
as well as photos of job applicants at Capcom too. So that's a little bit worse and not great.
Ooh.
Kudos on them for coming out with that information and saying like, hey, yeah, something did happen. Too often we see companies go like, oh no, nothing happened, or it happened but it wasn't bad, or it wasn't our fault, or laundry list of dumb excuses.
Uh-huh.
So
Emphasis on dumb.
yeah, it sucks. Ransomware always sucks. Breaches always suck, but ultimately I think the transparency of it and how they handle it is good. In this case, it was good. So hope Capcom can kind of seal up and do what they can to prevent things like that in the future.
Hmm.
Good luck. Apple, we've been talking a lot about Apple, particularly Apple versus Epic, or Epic versus Apple, or whatever the order was depending on the lawsuit you were reading about. So this is Apple only, but you can hardly be blamed for seeing a little shot at Epic in this one too. Apple has lowered the cut of their revenues that they take out for apps on the App Store from 30% down to 15% if you gross under $1 million within a year. So uh, I guess it's good. Like on its face, it's good, right? They're seeing that, hey, maybe we could help out the smaller folks with their apps and stuff and not take so much money away from them. Great, that's great. Realistically, though, how many like big moneymaker apps do you think out there are making under 1 million in gross? And if you think about kind of the numbers behind that and the cut they've actually done to, oh, say, hey, we're taking half the cut we normally did. Well, hooray. Oh, but it hardly affects anybody. And we're not going to lose hardly any money for doing it. And it's hard to see, it's hard to not see really an ulterior motive here, seeing as how Epic and Apple are just at each other's throats for months and months and months. And this kind of being a shot at Epic saying, hey, you know that thing you went around us for? Fuck you. We're gonna take a bit of our cut out and still fuck you, Epic. Obviously, there's no basis in reality on that at all. It's just something I'm seeing in this particular story, and it amuses me. It amuses me.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but I guess good for you, Apple. I don't have cause to say that very often. I don't see eye to eye with Apple very frequently. But good for them. On to some unfortunately more depressing news, and I apologize in advance for this, but Nicholas, boo, you assholes, filed a DMCA takedown against Cave Story Engine 2. And for those who haven't followed Cave Story or Nicholas as a publisher throughout the years, whatever. A few years ago, and maybe not even a few, maybe it's a little bit, maybe like 2 years or so. Nicholas is known for as like one of the more prominent indie publishers. And they take small games, they take indie games, they take on the publishing effort, do the PR, the marketing, etc., and distribution and all that. And I want to say they kind of almost got their start with publishing Cave Story,
Hmm.
the phenomenal indie game made by Daisuke Pixel and Maya, originally freeware for PC back in '96. I want to say maybe slightly later than that. It was like one of the preeminent darling indie games. Like really showcased what one person could do. He did the story, the programming, the art, the music, everything. It turned into this like kind of cult hit
Hmm.
smash of an indie game later on, of course, because back then it was really hard to kind of get a hold of these things. But then Nicholas came and was like, okay, well, we'll help you publish it. We'll spruce it up for different consoles. We'll help you do Cave Story Plus, Cave Story 3D, Cave Story on WiiWare, Wii U, Switch, etc., etc. But unfortunately, it came out that Nicholas really shafted Mr. Amaya in taking the IP and the rights of Cave Story from him. Whether that was from not paying him, very much, if anything at all, whether it was confusing contracts, which is pretty likely. Either way, they caught a lot of flack for not really giving Mr. Amaya a really fair deal, and it kind of came out that some of the higher ups at Nicholas are kind of not fantastic people to begin with. They were known for publishing, Binding of Isaac, was it remixed, remastered, re something like the the kind of the graphically remastered version of Binding of Isaac, and that really made him big. Like the Binding of Isaac was a huge hit. But then this news came out that they weren't great people, and all kind of and now this most recent thing with them filing a takedown notice, DMCA takedown against Cave Story Engine 2. And you'd think, oh well, since they own the IP and the name and whatever, maybe they're well within their rights to do this. You would think so from the front, but Cave Story Engine 2 is open source. It's reverse engineered partially from the entirely freeware version of Cave Story, way back when Daisuke Amaya first made it, before Nicholas even got involved. So, what in blazes? What in blazes kind of a leg does Nicholas have to stand on here? And if you look at the repo, it's on GitHub. There's no like Nicholas owned assets there. It's all based on the freeware stuff from way before those contracts even existed. So it's really hard to justify any of this. And so naturally, yeah, they're catching flack for it. So yeah, fuck you, Nicholas. I don't know where this has ended up because this happened like late November, very shortly after our last show. I should really look into like what kind of shook out from this, because it's entirely likely that GitHub, who had received the DMCA takedown notice against the repo for Cave Story Engine 2, has already reversed it and put everything back up. And I'm certainly hoping that that's the case because fuck you, Nicholas. Oh boy, I don't even know if I want to do the rest of my news because it kind of gets worse from here. Okay, it gets worse and then it gets better. So I guess we'll just kind of go in order here. So Nintendo, which I'd wager most of us know and love, sent a cease and desist to a Smash Melee tournament, one of the bigger ones called the Big House. Now, the reasons behind this is it gets to be pretty clear because if you know Nintendo's history of being extremely protective of their IPs, whether that means ROMs and emulators or fan games or even just the little tiniest whiff of using their property in something that might not be fully sanctioned by them. But the Big House was going to move to a purely online tournament this year. 2020, of course, because pandemic, right? That makes sense. Nobody, like, gamers are sweaty, disgusting nerds. I'm sorry, gamers, but you are. And when you get a whole bunch of them together, like close quarters, tournament style in a pandemic, that's like, it yells huge bad idea. So they're going to do it online this year. And hey, that sounds great. We can still do the tournament. We can still have fun, do Melee's huge thing. This is for Melee, by the way. Melee and maybe I think a little bit of Ultimate. So older Smash titles and newer Smash titles and whatever. But Nintendo comes in and says, no, you can't do that, and cease and desist. Now, I think the crux of this is that the tournament, like Melee, how old do you think Melee is right now? Smash Brothers Melee.
Oh, let me think.
I'm gonna look it up real quick just so I'm not
01?
inaccurate.
02 maybe?
I'm gonna say that's pretty accurate, but let me get the actual year.
Intelligence is
2001. Excellent.
Nice.
Good guess. So 19 years. And how much active support do you think Nintendo is giving Melee right now?
Fat load of nothing.
Yeah, I'd say 0. A 19-year-old game on the GameCube, which was a good console, not necessarily a smash hit, of a console. You gotta believe that Nintendo's not doing anything. So for this tournament and these organizers and just the community in general to want to take this online, they would have to do some work on it, right? So they developed this software called Slippy. And it's open source software that is meant to run these games that are not designed to be online, and Smash Melee was not designed to be online, through modern rollback netcode. And it worked. And it worked very well. So well that they were going to have the tournament use it. Now, Nintendo, in their brilliant stroke of genius, decides to shut this down. Now, I would say that they're real not happy with emulators or even anything that even approaches an emulator, and to get a GameCube game to work online, you're probably going to need to emulate it. So that's probably the main reason. Of course, actual details and facts about it are real sketchy, and there's invective flying on both sides. From reading about this and from getting the general temperature of it, I'd say most people are against Nintendo on this, myself included, because it's a real shitty move. Now, I'm not purely against them being able to protect their IP. Obviously, we know in the past they're very, very vigilant with this stuff because that old chestnut. If you don't want to lose the trademark or the whatever, you got to protect it. Fine, but to take this event, to take this community, this Smash community, which is incredibly creative and like huge fans of Nintendo, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't be bothering with this 19-year-old game and developing software to support it, and to just pretty much shit all over it is like, oh, Nintendo, what are you doing? There had to have been a better way to handle that. There had to have been. Whether that's like just kind of giving it a little side eye and ignoring it, which probably would have been an okay way to handle it, or to be a little bit more supportive and be like, hey, maybe we can sponsor the tournament a little bit, or it's naughty, don't use emulators, but we're gonna make an exception this one time because of the whole state of the world. Everybody's adjusting to this damn pandemic, and here we're shutting down a tournament whose move to online was to specifically avoid being a dumb thing during a pandemic. And now Nintendo's like, nah, you don't do that. I don't know, like it. I don't have very many kind words for Nintendo in this instance. As protective of their IP as they are, and well within their legal rights to do it too, doesn't make it a good move.
Now, I have heard a rumor that allegedly Melee is being ported to Switch with this kind of net play. But, I mean, it's a rumor.
See, now that would make sense. That would make sense because there was a similar move that Nintendo pulled on a different IP, a different franchise. Have you heard of Super Mario Royale?
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember that? The online fan game, Mario Battle Royale, that Nintendo, let's qualify the pronouns, I guess, that they see indeed. And then, not too long after, released Super Mario 35 on Switch. Which is, it takes kind of the same concept, that whole battle royale between 35 players playing, Super Mario Brothers 1, right? So at the time, that C&D was rightfully given a lot of flack. Again, this is a community that's very passionate about Nintendo products, Nintendo's IP, and just doing all sorts of fan games and stuff like that. Shut down. like hard shut down. And then you look at this most recent iteration with the Melee tournament being shut down, and it's like, okay, shitty move, but if those rumors about a Melee refresh being released on Switch are true, with netcode behind it and all that, that makes slightly more sense. Still, the fact that it doesn't exist yet, hasn't been confirmed yet in any sort of capacity, and then they're just doing this outright without much work within the community to kind of smooth this out. Oof. Oof. So yeah, I don't know. It's getting harder to defend Nintendo for this stuff. And I'm a pretty big fan of Nintendo myself. I grew up on it. I played a lot of games with it. Great series. They do good work, and it's like, you're making it really hard for me to like you.
Yep.
But all right. That's kind of enough negative news. I've got a positive that kind of spun out of that Melee tournament C&D.
Cool.
So because of that, so here's kind of the negative aspect of it. There was a large Splatoon tournament that Nintendo was actually, sponsoring and supporting, et cetera, et cetera. Splatoon 2, obviously designed for online play. Splatoon was a huge breakout hit for kind of Nintendo's online experiments, I guess you want to say. Nintendo has never really been historically known for really good online stuff, and Splatoon was really a pretty good online experience, or so I've heard. But this tournament was eventually canceled because, as it turns out, The tournament ran through an initial bracket stage where they had a bunch of teams competing to take top spots and top seeding and all that. The top 4 teams from those brackets renamed themselves to things that were in support of the previously canceled or the previously C&D'd Smash Melee tournament. So they essentially quit the tournament. They bowed out. All 4 teams or individuals. I don't know how Splatoon 2 plays, so it could be both teams and individuals. So they all bowed out. So the next 4, the number 5 through 8, were then invited to take number 1 through 4's place. They declined in a show of solidarity with the aforementioned C&D Smash tournament. These, and pretty much nobody else wanted to kind of get involved in this below number 8, or so I've read. So the tournament effectively had to be canceled. Right. The reason given for not allowing the initial top 4 to go on into this massive streamed event was, and let's see, I wrote it down, unexpected executional challenges. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, sure. Nobody believes that, but okay, sure. But kind of the upswing on this, and here's the positive bit. The top participants, I believe, 1 through 8, and probably even more beyond that, went on to form their own tournament without Nintendo's support, took donations in to get a nice, healthy prize pool going, and they eventually had to stop taking in donations for the prize pool and redirect the excess to charity. So it ended up being $25,000 prize pool for this new, like, very quickly spun up tournament, with $3,000 going to charity.
Right on.
And so, like, the whole Splatoon community is getting involved in this and showing solidarity with their other esports, tournaments that are being kind of jerked around here. And all in all, it just came out to be a real positive thing. That communities are supporting each other, and hey, even charity's getting a little benefit here, and Nintendo gets another little black eye because of it.
Been getting a lot of those lately.
Right?
Have a lot of eyes.
Like, you gotta wonder if they would see something like this and maybe think, maybe there's a different way we can handle these things. Just maybe.
Maybe don't.
But yeah. Who the heck knows? I'm not a businessman. Maybe there's things that we don't know, the things we don't see, data not available to us or whatever. But I was super happy to see that Splatoon tourney just kind of come out of the ether and totally do some good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to end my news on a high note there and ask what you got.
All right. Well, as you know, I've been all about the hardware stuff lately. So AMD has released their 6000 series GPUs, and they did that thing where they wouldn't let people release their reviews until the same day the card's released.
Okay.
I mean, granted, NVIDIA did the same thing. Pretty sure.
Probably.
Jeez. This year is getting weird in my head. But in any case, everybody was complaining about NVIDIA's 3000 series cards being a paper launch, but oh boy. Yeah, so the quantity of GPUs that actually got out in the wild, and I'm continuing to watch these things because I'm still looking for a 6000 series GPU because I want to build a Hackintosh. It makes NVIDIA kind of look like they were kings in that manner because they had so many that they were able to give out to these various retailers to get them out of there. But yeah. I mean, to be fair, I was able to somehow get a 3090 from Best Buy on launch day, but like people are still clawing their ways to try to get anything. But AMD though, allegedly Micro Center got something like 35 total in the whole country. So, I mean, granted, that was the 6900 XT, but still, like, how?
Just 35, like not 3500, not 35.
No, just 35.
Just 35. Wow.
Yeah, like stores were getting maybe 2 or 3 tops. Allegedly, this is because of wafer shortages. So, I can see it, I guess. And of course, it's on 7 nanometer, and we all know what happened with the 5000 series CPU release. Like, those are still hot commodities. I have no idea how I got the 5800X. Like, just no idea. I mean, that's the CPU that all of the tech tubers were like, oh, this is a waste of money. Like, you should get the 5600X or at least get the 5900X because this is the middling product. And whatever. Now everybody's trying to get that too. So
right.
Yeah, so that's actually what's running on this box right now. But in any case, so the release happened. It was last Tuesday. Actually, this Tuesday. Damn, it was the 8th.
Yes, just
It
Tuesday.
feels like much more than just 3 days ago, but
It
whatever.
surely
Okay.
does. Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So that happened. I was a little upset because at exactly 8 o'clock in the morning Central Time, when all of the stores unlocked their add to cart buttons, I had an order put through. I had a Power Color 6900 XT all the way through, got my email confirmation and everything. 5 minutes
But
later, Newegg voided the order because they made too much stock available. I was like, you fucker.
what is this?
Because
The
I could
airlines?
have, exactly. Like, I could have kept looking. That was like prime time to be able to try to get something. And I was just like, you assholes. So, yeah, I mean, I've been, I'm on like 3 different Discords now with alerts. I have a Telegram channel that I'm subscribed to. I now set up a Chrome extension tonight. Oh, look, let's try to get this 6800 XT that just popped up here. Nope, already gone. They're like gone within a split second of them being available because they're being botted so hard.
Amazing.
So anyway, I tried, but jeez.
Yeah, I think the GPU launches in particular this year have been especially heinous. Like Nvidia is still totally out of stock, yeah, and their
Yep.
resellers are totally out of stock of the 3000 series. And shortly after that happened, like they were claiming like component shortages and stuff. So hearing kind of the same claim come from AMD about, oh yeah, wafer shortages or not good enough
Uh-huh.
or whatever, like that makes a little bit of sense, I think.
hmm No, I
Um,
mean, like with everything going on, no, it does make sense, but for them to have had this much time to get less than 100 out, like, what the fuck? Like, they can get all of these demo units out to the tech tubers just fine, but retail, come on.
yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, like, allegedly, AMD was going to stop making the reference model cards come January. They were going to let all of the AIBs just do their thing.
Uh-huh.
But they got so much shit from people on Twitter that they were like, fine, I guess we'll keep making the reference model cards, I guess. But like, wow.
No,
So
we hate
like,
money. How dare you suggest we make more and make more money?
I was just like, there is nothing to lose here. I mean, you've
Oh
already
dear.
created the process in theory. I mean, you're going to be battling everybody else for wafers at this point, but at least ship the GPUs. Just get something out to the even your third party resellers. Just do something. But
Ridiculous.
I'm rambling at this point. But in any case, so courtesy of those tech tubers that have those GPUs already, of course, typical of AMD, the hardware is great. Lots of really great hardware. It has much better cooling than before. It has great performance when it performs.
Oh no. I
Um,
think I know where this is going.
yeah, so fine wine yet again. How many years will it be for the Radeon software to actually not be total shit?
Oof.
So the drivers again, big problem. Some games that are optimized for AMD, like the ones they hit on their benchmarks, um, great performance. They did better than the 3090. They were very competitive against the 38 or 3080 with the 6800 and the 6800 XT. Things were great. Things that are optimized for Nvidia. Oh my god. There were some titles that the 3070 beat the 30 or the 6900 XT. Yeah.
Ooh.
Uh-huh. So they have some shit to figure out. Um, Granted, this is with pre-release drivers, but the card came out 3 days ago. I haven't heard anything to the contrary yet. So a lot of people are saying with the 1600 XT, just don't waste your money. Get the 6800 or the 6800 XT if you really want to pay more money. But as a result of that, there's renewed interest in those lower SKU cards, and of course, they're all being sold out. Like even not that they weren't before, but there's a lot more people looking for it. Like I'm on these Discord servers, and people sign up for notifications by adding an emote to um post that's there because these are like you can't respond channels, but you can emote. So I'm seeing that there's like thousands more of these that are interested in the lower SKUs now because why pay that much more money if you're not going to get that much more performance? I mean, it's the same kind of thing as the 3080 to the 3090. Like, why would you spend that much more money? And those same kind of arguments being given here with the 1600 and the 1600 XT, because they all have the same amount of RAM. They all have the same cooling. They just have different amounts of, I guess, shader cores or whatever the hell they're calling it on AMD.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
So I don't know. I still want one because Mac has not supported NVIDIA anything past the 900 series, pretty sure.
Yikes.
So, yeah. So I got to get something so I can throw it in a Hackintosh so I can get back to music production stuff again. But like, even the 5700 XT right now, which would have been a compromise, like, sure, I'll pay $250 for a GPU. That's not half bad. Yeah, those are all fucking gone. Everything's gone. Like, they're getting back into the 580s and 590s. Like, people are starting to buy those at higher prices just to get something. Like Vega. Woo! Yeah, excitement.
Wow.
So, moving on from that, let's go to another disappointing release. Cyberpunk 2077 finally came out. It had 5 million pre-ordered copies, and already there are major issues on Xbox and PlayStation. Apparently, Windows is okay. People are finding glitches for speedrunning already and things like that. Sure, I mean, it's the release of a game, and people are finding all sorts of stuff that the devs didn't. This is normal. But on a more serious note, it includes scenes that are deliberately made to emulate an epileptic episode, which, for people with epilepsy, causes epileptic seizures.
You don't say.
Uh-huh. So, yeah.
Oof.
As that information kind of came out right around release, CD Projekt Red's ignorance was rewarded when their stock fell 29%. So, your stock falling as a result of you releasing a game means you fucked up.
So, I followed that release a little bit too. So, the sticking a point about the whole epileptic seizures thing. Like, of course, whenever there's claims of impropriety against a company that people love, like CDPR, there's always going to be people that come out and say, "Oh, well, it's not so bad. Well, just turn it off. Well, it's not meant for you," or whatever. Fuck those people, first of all. But the kind of the scenes at issue in the game, in the starting cutscene or whatever, and I don't know how true this is, but it certainly seems to be if you just look at it. Apparently, the devices in those scenes within the game were patterned after real-world epileptic diagnostic devices that were intentionally designed to trigger epileptic seizures to study.
Right.
Them,
yeah,
right?
That's exactly it.
And I cannot imagine. Like, I'm not gonna claim that every dev everywhere has to know everything out there about what may or may not match to something real world. But you can't imagine that whoever put that in there, whether it was rank and file or the management that decided to put it in there, couldn't have known that that was a device for that purpose. There is no feasible realm in which we exist where they could look up, oh, hey, device with flashing lights, and it pulls up this picture of a medical device for causing seizures, and slap that in the game and be like, well, no problems here. Like, it's extremely hard to defend that. I'm not defending it. But it's like, I mean, come on, really?
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Awfully
fucked up.
I can't. Yeah.
But whatever, I guess. Oh shit! Damn it!
Did you miss another one?
This one's not even listed. Like, it's not under the 6900 XT. Like, it's just its own product page, and it has add to cart right there. But the website poops itself.
Womp.
Damn it. Got me all excited there. Come on. That's the model that, this is the first AIB model that I've seen, which allegedly those weren't coming out until January. So that was kind of a thing. But Best Buy has their product page that still says coming soon. Now, if it went live on Newegg, oh, wow, that's probably going to be happening sometime shortly here. So, I await my opportunity. Perhaps it will be a thing. Weirdly enough, it still says add to cart, even though it just doesn't work. Anyway, moving on. Let's not get distracted by hardware. CD Projekt Red, though, like Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed, and obviously there's been news of it trickling out for years now. But for this kind of thing to happen right at the very end, for them to shoot themselves so hard in the foot, yeah, I'm just gonna move on.
Oh, I was gonna bring up one more point, but
oh, you can go ahead, please.
Okay, so like it's unrelated to the whole seizure business now. So
okay,
CDPR, obviously very well renowned, generally well respected, made huge. Yeah, well, maybe not so much anymore. Made like kind of big waves in the industry with one of their higher ups announcing that we're working hard to eliminate crunch or whatever. Nobody will be required to crunch on this game, etc., etc. Which already smelled a little bit of bullshit because that's probably not a thing. But they made huge sweeping statements like, oh, nobody's crunching, nobody's being required to work extra hours, etc., etc. Yeah, shortly thereafter, what do you think they announced? Oh yeah, we're crunching.
We're gonna get the game out because we promised people it'd be out for the holidays,
right? So then the delay happened, and every like the most charitable interpretation of that is like, oh yeah, maybe they're actually working to reduce crunch by delaying the game so people don't have to kill themselves to make this thing. No, they were still crunching super hard up to release. And I'm sure they're still crunching now to fix this admittedly really bad fuck up, to make it better. So, yeah, CDPR. No. That's bad. It's a bad company. Don't do it. All right, sorry. That's the only other point I wanted to bring up for CDPR.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep my happy thing for the end. Speaking of graphics cards and them being impossible to get, 2.2 million yuan, that's the Chinese currency, worth of RTX 3090 GPUs were stolen in a heist from MSI's hardware factory in China.
Damn it.
They suspect it's an inside job. So let's just look up how much that is. Yuan in USD.
The last figure I saw was a couple hundred at the very least worth of those GPUs.
Yeah, so this is roughly $336,000 worth of GPUs.
That's a lot of GPUs.
Yeah, I'd say. So yeah. They did it. Good job, I guess. Congrats. You limited our supply again. Dicks. Anyhow, let's go to something, the one happy thing that I have in here instead of me ragging on things. Microsoft. Happy? What? Xbox release? I don't get it.
Whoa, hold on a minute.
I know.
First I say something like backhanded complimentary about Apple, and now you're going to praise Microsoft?
Yeah, very briefly.
Phew.
So
okay, all right. I will temper my expectation.
I didn't look at anything really from the Game Awards because I think they were just yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
So Microsoft has a new game studio for the Xbox called The Initiative. And they, without any warning, dropped a new tasty trailer for which series? Have a guess.
Oh boy.
Something that's being revived.
Man, I don't even know what series they own anymore.
Halo. That series got... Yeah, anyway.
But
no, it's not Halo. Perfect Dark.
Whoa, hey, wait a minute. Perfect Dark.
Yes.
Oh, shit. That's right. They did buy out Rare.
So I am going to... Ooh. Oh, shit. I'm going to... Oh, shit. Add this to the cart. Damn it.
You missed another one.
Here is the trailer. In glorious 4K, should you choose to watch it in 4K. But... That looks pretty great. It's extremely different than the N64 release, but it looks pretty great.
So is it a remaster, a remake of OG Perfect Dark, or is it another in the series, or?
Allegedly, they're rebooting the series. So this is new content in theory.
Interesting.
So looking forward to it. Oh. Damn you, Newegg. Anyway. Perfect Dark. Not a game I played. It was very well sought after. It is still an extremely hard N64 game to get a hold of. Did get to see it played once. I thought it was really interesting. Um, I've never played it myself, and I totally don't have ROMs of it. Cough.
Yeah, right.
Um, no, this gameplay looks fantastic. Anything that's like that these days, that's going to be innovative like that, that looks as well as it does. If that's actual gameplay, or if that's even indicative of any kind of the graphics quality or the fidelity of the final product, I'm kind of interested in that. I haven't really seen a whole lot of stuff for it, now current gen. Um, of course, Microsoft being them, they're going to make it, it's obviously going to be a PC release as well as Xbox Series X, One X, Series S, I don't know, whatever. Regardless, played on PC, played on a console. If you get solid performance with that kind of fidelity, I want to see more stuff. I'm not even a big fan of the run and gun genre, which is foreshadowing for later, but like it looks great. I think it would be really interesting to play something like that just because of like, oh my god, there's so much to look at. I mean, I suppose I can say the same thing for Cyberpunk 2077. Like the little bit that I've seen of it, it looks really polished. Visually, it's just a lot to take in. And we're getting to the era now where we have hardware that can do that. And that's kind of unique. Like we've been iterating on 3D since the mid 90s and things have gotten a little better over time. Of course, we have fewer triangles to look at because everything you have more triangles, it looks more natural. Like now things are just kind of like, okay, we've got the ability to display things in 4K, even 8K. And we also have the CPU and the graphics power behind it to actually make these textures look better instead of just having, 4K upscaling texture packs and whatnot. I mean, yeah, Skyrim, you sure did that. Wow. But in any case, yeah, Perfect Dark. I saw the trailer earlier today. I was just like, I gotta talk about this because seeing 60 FPS 4K just doing that thing, if that's actual gameplay in the trailer, that's really cool. Even if it's a cinematic, if that's the kind of thing that we're going to be seeing, that's awesome. So I'm looking forward to that kind of stuff.
I'm now very excited about it because Perfect Dark I played the hell out of way back in the day. It was created by Rare.
Uh huh.
It was definitely very much in the vein of GoldenEye 007, another hugely popular shooter for N64.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Probably what undercut it a little bit is that it required the expansion pack to play the single player campaign.
Right.
You could play up to four player multiplayer arena shooter type stuff like you could with GoldenEye without the expansion pack. But what really excited me about it was the huge campaign. It's like 17, 18 missions or whatever beyond what GoldenEye did. It had great AI for the time. Obviously, now looking back, it's kind of like okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was an incredible game. The only one of the problems is that it taxed the N64 terribly.
Yep.
Like,
Especially if you were in high res mode.
yeah, nearly PowerPoint mode, like almost constantly. Like you'd
A
be lucky to
slides.
get the baseline. What was it, 30 frames maybe? You would be lucky. You'd have to be
No.
looking at the plain texture of a skybox to get 30 frames out of it, and anything else was just like, well, good luck with 15 at best. But it was really stupid fun still. So
A
they
lot of
did release a remake. I don't know, remake, remastered, polished up version of it for I believe Xbox 360 Arcade. I bought
Yes, so Xbox Live Arcade had a version of it
Live Arcade.
that
Yep.
had a solid 60 FPS. Um, on the original hardware, I'm seeing things where it just dipped into the teens regularly. So, ugh,
Yeah, I mean, nostalgia glasses being what they are, I past me probably didn't notice it quite as much, but of course now me looking back on it, even firing it up a couple times, a year, I've got the actual cartridge and the expansion pack, and I plug it in. It's like, oh man, it feels so good. And then you load into a game, it's like, oh, oh no.
yeah. And hey,
um,
that's with the expansion pack and everything too.
right? Exactly. So it's just like, oh
Uh,
no, why is this so bad? I remember it being much better. But it's still
yep.
a fantastic game, and I did play a little bit of the remake on the XBLA, as well, and it was smooth and shiny and fancy and high res textures and all. It was still like
Uh-huh.
a little bit what you might have expected from the 360 generation of things, but it
Yeah,
was
for
still
sure.
there. It was still perfect dark, and it was pretty cool.
That's blah.
So yeah, right. I remember those days.
Uh-huh.
So now that it's getting like an actual reboot, super modern remaster, that makes me excited. So I'm gonna have to look at that trailer later.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, do it in your living room on that TV. Like, do it. It's really great. I ended up watching it on my display in my office earlier today, and it was like, I'm sitting so close to this gigantic 4K display, and I can still see the pixels and whatnot, but like, I forced myself to back up a little bit and actually have a look at it. I was just like, whoa, this is gorgeous. So no, I'm really excited. Like, I don't even like run and gun. It's just really exciting to me. Ah, I'm done now.
Okay, I think we've yammered on long enough. How about some Toonskis? I did add one to your list, by the way. I
I
forgot to
see
tell you
that. All
earlier.
right. Well, I'll go ahead and hammer off these three then. It's The Chariot of the Moon being number one by Rebecca E. Tripp from Final Fantasy IV. I'm always going to have stuff by Rebecca E. Tripp. Like, she's just
It's real
a
good stuff.
powerhouse for getting all these remixes out there. Like, how do you get through the queue that quickly unless you're just constantly writing? But they're all great. So enjoy that one. Number two is going to be The Butcher of Blaviken by Gunderslam from The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And we're going to wrap up this segment with About Blank, about colon blank, you nerds, by Arbo Reality from The Guardian Legend.
Okay, well, I'm glad to see certain of our lists are a bit more full, and certain of our lists are a bit less full this time around.
Okay.
um,
Hmm.
Particularly referring to yours and then mine in that order.
Oh, oh, okay.
For games that we've been playing. Yeah, last time I had a very large list, which isn't necessarily a problem. It's just a lot of them, and it's at this stage, I think, of our lives, being in early to mid 30s, it's like, boy howdy, we get exhausted real quick, don't we?
Late stage gamerism.
Yeah, and it really becomes hard to really allocate as much energy, really more than time sometimes, to certain games than others. So I'm glad to see a little bit more balance, I think, on both sides.
Hmm.
I guess I'll start this time around.
Yeah, go ahead.
So from last show, I had not just started Spelunky 2. I think I was a couple weeks in at that point. Well, to as a surprise to no one, I'm sure I'm still working on Spelunky 2. It is a very difficult game. It is a very long game. There's a lot of content to it, and of course, I can't just go through like the easiest path and be done with it. No, I have to investigate every corner and every little tiny thing,
As you should, though.
and make sure I'm doing the good ending or whatever. Well, I guess a little bit of that is untruthful. I haven't even made it through the easy path, so got a lot of work to do even before we reach that point. But Spelunky 2, very fun game, very engrossing game, very aggravating game sometimes.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, I would normally describe games in this vein as either mean or cruel, but I was thinking about it a little bit earlier today, and I'd say it's more indifferent. It's more indifferent to the player in so much as, yeah, it's probably actively trying to stop you, but it doesn't really care how thoroughly it stops you as long as you are stopped. So it's just like, oh, you died again. Okay, good for you. Why don't you try again, idiot?
I was gonna say, get back up there.
Probably doesn't say idiot at the end. I'm kind of projecting a little bit,
Mm.
but it's a very fun game, and uh, I've made some small strides this past week in kind of figuring out the right sequence of things. I haven't been, going on wikis or looking up YouTube videos or stuff like that to figure out what to do, because this is one of those things. There's like, you know what? We knew it was coming for a while. We knew this game
Hmm.
was kind of on the horizon, and it was delayed, a couple times, 2, 3 times or whatever. It's just like, I'm gonna try to shut off as much of the media about it as I can, because I wanna experience this son of a
Yep.
bitch, and I might regret that a little bit in some respects, but it's still very fun. Like, the discovery of it is very good, and even though I'm playing through the first few levels constantly, because I'm bad at it, it's still very fun and finds very unique ways to mess with and or murder the player. So that's fun. That's fun and cool. At least it's got a lot of variety to that.
True.
If I were dying in the exact same way every time, which sometimes does happen because I'm a greedy little bastard sometimes. Um, Most of the time, it's from new and exciting ways, or variations on kind of standard ways, which is fun in its own way.
Yeah.
On the Shmup Book Club side of things, we started on new Shmup for December, Super R-Type for the SNES. R-Type as a series is known for being pretty mean, like in the very literal sense. Like, it actively does not want you to succeed, and it will make that known very, very soon. Super R-Type is no exception. I think across the entire crew that we have playing now, nobody's gotten past stage 3. A small handful of us have made it to stage 3 boss, and that boss in particular is very uninterested in having you stay alive. So yeah, it's a very tough game. It's like it's a very classic type of shmup though too. Back in early to mid '90s, everybody was doing side-scrolling shmups that were pretty simple on their face. Like, yeah, go through these levels. It's more or less auto-scrolling. You shoot everything and you don't die. And I can appreciate that level of simplicity, I think, because some of the shmups we play are just galaxy brain. You do this in this order, and if you don't do this in that order, you're not going to get the big points. And what's the point of playing if you're not going for the big points? And sometimes you just want to play something real simple, and Super R-Type does that, which is cool. But speaking of the Galaxy Brain scoring plays, our fourth quarter shmup, one of our fourth quarter shmups, is Dodonpachi Daifukatsu. And you might remember both myself and EI, a good friend of ours, playing this at Super Stigma Slam 2019. We did a little best of 3 score challenge across the various modes of DDP, DFK, as the cool, I don't know when I would say cool kids will say it that way, but as some people tend to say it because it's a mouthful otherwise. And that was a very interesting run of things, I think, though, what we demonstrated. It's not quite as Galaxy Brain scoring as other things, but there are definitely aspects to it that if you don't know about it, you're not going to do half as well as somebody who makes it half as far but knows all the scoring things. But that has been an interesting revisit so far this quarter. I'm really enjoying it.
Awesome.
We're also doing a couple more shmups, even on top of the 2 quarterlies and the monthly now, because believe it or not, Shmup Book Club has been going for 3 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
Good job, EI.
Exactly. And I didn't even join in until like 2 or 3 months into it, so I can't even claim to be one of the progenitors. But the fact that we've had people of varying common sensities here playing shmups for 3 years is a pretty impressive feat. So obviously, yeah, kudos to EI, and then thanks to everybody who's been involved with it, because it's really fun to just get on a weekly call, or just shoot the shit while shooting some shit is the phrase that I came up with pretty early on.
Nice.
And it just kind of matches the club to a T, really, because you get the dulcet tones of the ah and the ooh and the oh shit and the ah all coming through on voice when everybody's playing at once.
Are squawks still a thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Squawks
Okay, I just haven't
100% a thing.
seen them referenced a whole lot lately, so I wanted to be sure.
If you talk about them too much, they tend not to happen. It's a very natural thing. It cannot be forced.
I see. Sip.
Yeah. But yeah, there's been multiple running jokes like, oh yeah, the Sounds of Smoke Book Club Volume 3. It's just like, it's a pretty apt descriptor. Like you'll have some like strategy discussions going on, and then suddenly people just can cut loose with a whole bunch of expletives and just like, yeah, that's Shmup Book Club.
Now that's what I call Shmuppin', Volume 3.
Exactly. Like all the memes that have come out of it are just fantastic. Everybody has their own particular meme. Like me, it's the squawks, really. And also calling enemies cowards is apparently a new one for me as well. Like everybody's got something to their name in that club, which is hilarious in and of itself. We should probably write them down, actually. Really funny. But other things I've been playing for my Sunday long plays, where I pick out a game that I've played in the past and kind of continue along with it. Past couple weeks I've been doing both Overload, which is a nice 6 Degrees of Freedom game. Playing some of the DLC packs that came out, both the campaign levels and the challenge mode levels. Huge array of levels that came out after the fact. It's like amazing. It's like tripled the amount of challenge maps, and there's 2 extra campaigns, and it's all just super tasty 6 DOF. And
nice.
I love it so much. So
2 additional campaigns though. Dang.
I know, right? And it's not like
awesome.
It's not like huge, 15 level campaigns like the original one was, but it's like solid 6, 7, 8 to them, and then it's like, oh, all right, well, I love the game. I'll play more of it, please and thanks.
Yeah.
And then also I dipped back into Darkest Dungeon a couple weeks ago, which is another very cruel game. For the reason of RNG. Your party, your 4-person party soon becomes a 2-person party because you don't roll a good attack, or you roll a bad dodge, and it's like, oh, come on. But it's still a very enjoyable game. The full voice narration to it is fantastic. The narrator going on in the background's got a very, I wouldn't say like Barry White baritone, but kind of like a very raspy, like maybe slightly above a David Hayter rasp. But it's still like, ooh, that sounds real good. And then shit goes down, and he's not exactly insulting you, but it's like, yeah, you died. It's like, oh no, come on, please, you're supposed to be on my side. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun. I'll probably dip back into that again on some other Sunday. Another game I've been getting quite heavily into now that it's hit full release out of early access is Risk of Rain 2.
Ooh.
This was a game that came out originally, I believe, in either 2015 or 2016. Risk of Rain 1, that is.
Hmm.
And it was a side scroller actionish platformer 2D whatever. And Risk of Rain 2 took that kind of the same gameplay elements to it and
Mm-hmm.
turned it into a third person over the shoulder shooter. And that sounds like quite a change, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it works so well, which is the kind of the big surprise to it. It's like, wow, suddenly this game opens up so much, literally and figuratively. And you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't expect it to work as well as it does, but it does, and it's great. And myself and Boris and 006 have been playing a lot of co-op in it too, and the co-op is wonderful. Very difficult game, of course. You can tone it down if you need to, but it's oh wow, it's really hard to kind of qualify what makes it super good. So I'll simply just recommend people to at least try it. Like it's really fun and cool. And if you can try it with other folks, like do that as well. It's a really good co-op experience.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm sure there's some other incidentals that I forgot to write down, but I will call that my list for now and pass it on to you, Tormod.
Fair enough. Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I didn't really actually play a whole lot, so I got on that whole like, oh, this YouTube video of somebody playing Breath of the Wild and CMU is really pretty again. I better see if I can get that to work. And I get the games on my machine and update the emulator and whatnot and run it for 10 minutes. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I should play this with Vlad at some point, and then just not have the time to actually do that.
Oh, you really should play. It's a good game. It's a real good game.
Yeah, I've been watching Vlad play, and we have all four of the divine beasts now. We are going and doing the side questy stuff. We have a row and change of hearts and all sorts of stuff. So it's been fun. Looking at the shrines, a lot of them are definitely not as hard as people originally made them out to be. But
Yeah.
it's just like, okay, I can dig it. It involves you thinking in a few creative ways because of all of the things that you can have at your disposal, I suppose. But yeah, no, the Master Sword concept in that game is pretty cool. It's really gorgeous, and like when you jack up the level of detail and the draw distance, like, oh man,
Mm-hmm.
like that looks real good on
Very pretty.
PC. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to eventually following one of those here stress your graphics card guides and seeing what can happen with a 3090 because, why not? You got to use it for something. So, looking forward to it. But yeah, I threw Mario Kart 8 back up there again because I mean, I played that on CEMU like, I don't know, 4 years ago, and it was good then and it's still good now. Um I like the fact that I can use a Wii U Pro controller on my PC and it just works like a Wii U Pro controller. That's been real cool. So, I don't know. I want to get back into that game library again. And hey, I found a Switch emulator today, so that's a thing. Not that I don't have the games that I want to play already, but I'm just like,
Right.
huh.
Right.
I mean, now that I know I can try it, I want to try it. It's kind of like the Hackintosh thing, where it's like, I already have a Mac, but why not try this? So I don't know, I like that kind of weird hacky business, but I don't know. I'm probably going to be doing a lot of that coming up here, just to like, be like, hey, yay, proof of concept. It does the thing. And I started deciding that I was going to get into my backlog of games and play things for me. So I'm going to start in on some stuff again that I've wanted to play for a while. Probably do some classic Fire Emblem, especially now that the translation of the original NES game, Famicom rather, was made available on Switch in the um, NES Classic Library, I think it was.
Hmm.
So
Okay. Good.
um, I
Good.
know it had a special edition release that sold out in like 2 minutes exclusively on GameStop, so I didn't feel too bad, but still, it had like this crystal cut cartridge and everything, and it looked really cool.
Wow.
But
Sounds fancy.
unfortunately, it wasn't like actually functional. But if it were, I'd be like, hell yeah, jam, get this ball rolling here. But no, I want to go back and play some classic, I guess, tactical RPGs, as you might call them. But I keep talking about Radiant Dawn and Path of Radiance as Vlad's been playing more of Smash Brothers Ultimate and seeing all the Fire Emblem people. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, at some point, I'm making you sit through this. It'll be a good time. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Oh
I
yeah,
want to get back into those games. I have not touched Three Houses yet. I own it, but I got to do that too.
wasn't there an announce recently for more Smash Bros. Content on a character? I feel like that was a thing.
Uh,
I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
it had something to do with the Final Fantasy VII remake too.
Oh,
Although
really?
maybe that might have been a Photoshop and not a real thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about that yet. Like the last one I was made aware of was Steve and Alex. That was a few months ago. But
Oh no, yesterday that is a real thing.
oh man,
So
share a link.
take your pick out of Final Fantasy VII characters. Which one do you think is coming to Smash Brothers?
Oh, let's see here. Probably Tifa. No.
No,
Okay, I was thinking of just a straight up brawler.
right? That would make
Maybe Barrett
sense.
with the gun.
No,
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 I'm just going down the list here. Sid,
no,
Kate Sith.
no.
Thank God.
All right, I'll just tell
Please
you.
tell me it's not Yuffie.
No, it's not.
Please tell me.
Sephiroth.
Thank you.
Sephiroth is coming to Smash.
Huh. Okay, I guess. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's like we had the brouhaha last time about people getting either really excited or really pissed off that Steve was coming to Smash. So it's interesting that this one was kind of subdued. But I think it was announced at the Game Awards, which just happened, past couple days or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But the response to it seems like in retrospect in relation to the previous announce to be pretty kind of chill. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's good. Looks like there's a sword involved, so I'm less excited. But
Well,
whatever.
yeah, it's the Masamune,
Right?
the thing that stabs something. Cough.
Yeah.
Pillars from 1997. Anyway.
But yeah. Anyways, I thought that was interesting. I figured I'd just bring it up since you were talking about Smash there a little bit.
Hey, yeah, sure. Why not? I had no idea until you told me. There's a lot of stuff from the Game Awards that I'm sure I've just didn't
Yeah.
hear about. So that's going to
Yeah.
be fun to go back and read about. But I don't know, man.
All right.
No, that's all I got, really.
Cool. Well, that leads us into Toonskis Part 2 here. I'll
Cool.
go through my list then. So, first off, we have a remix from Doom entitled Devil's Lament by Lashmush. Then a remix from Darksiders 2 entitled And Hell Followed Him by David L. Puga and Mac Aitman. And then finishing off with a remix from Shin Megami Tensei Persona 4 entitled Great Success by Jamphibious. All right, we're reaching to the end of the night here tonight, unfortunately, because then we need to go back to some vestige of reality, whether it be snow or whatever. Ugh, snow.
Oh God, don't say that.
Hey, I'm saying it because it's happening right now up here.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, I know. It sucks.
We ended up getting some a couple weeks ago, which is weird. It was actually it stuck to the ground for like a couple hours.
Oh,
I have a
wow.
really
Impressive.
gorgeous photo I should share with you later. But like yesterday it was 70 degrees. Like what?
That
Like
sounds
it just
so
kind of came out of
nice.
nowhere because we've been getting real cold overnight here, like 16,
Oh,
a little
wow.
lower sometimes.
Mm.
Yeah, it's been in the, like the low 40s for a while for a high, and then just this happened, and it was just like, okay, sure, I guess. But anyway, I digress again.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm not looking forward to probably having to shovel tomorrow.
Ugh,
But yeah.
sorry.
But that's okay. That is a problem for tomorrow me, and the problem for current me is now to discuss our designs, which
Hell
is
yeah.
always fun and cool. Okay, so I guess I'll go first then.
Okay.
So to preface this a little bit, I've been watching a little bit of some speed runs for Resident Evil games, both original and some of the remasters, and I even saw one for Resident Evil 7, a couple different
Hmm,
runs of that as well, the most recent one.
nice.
Um,
Awesome.
and it struck me how kind of plain those games are.
Hmm.
Visually, especially, it's just like dark and muddy and just very little contrast, and it's just gray and brown and oh maybe there's a spark of green, but no, it's just really drab and
Hmm.
kind
Hmm.
of ugh. And I get like that's the aesthetic they're going for. It's supposed to be spooky horror. Oh no, things are gonna happen, etc. etc. But it's just like with how many games are in Resident Evil series and even just like survival horror as a whole, you'd think one of them would be a little bit brighter and a little some color here and there or something like it. Like not even the content wise, I'm just talking the visuals. Like give me something to
Hmm.
look at. Give me something to stand out that doesn't require me to kind of squint and say, "Oh yeah, that's a slightly brighter shade of black there. That must be something." But yeah,
Linear launcher, everything.
right. Well, easy mode, right?
Yeah, well, you know.
But yeah, so that's kind of like the preface to this because I came up with a survival horror zombie apocalypse. I know it's
Mm,
very original. Um, so 2D but voxelish. So 2.5D with some nice particle effects and
mhm,
more
mhm,
like volumetric pixels, which is a voxel like floating around. So something not quite so drab and
mhm.
flat and just kind of non-contrast. Twin stick-ish because I'm real into twin stick games. I know spoilers, shocker, I'm sure. Uh, Based in a kind of a large area around you, but very clearly defined outer boundaries. Like, yeah, you're in this particularly burned out section of a city that the outer bounds of which you're never getting over, you're never getting through. Don't even bother trying. So yeah, I'm sure people try to clip out of bounds or whatever. That's what people do. But
Mhm.
for practicality's sake, you're not getting away from this like 2 square blocks of stuff. Um, but the interior is populated by burned out buildings, a lot of rubble, zombies. Of course, wouldn't be a survival horror zombie apocalypse
Ooh,
without the
ooh, question.
titular zombies. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So, do you have doors with planks across the door frame that you can walk across? Do you?
Walk across. Walk across
Like,
a door?
no, like you have this open door where you have like a single board just nailed to the door frame. Oh no, can't go this way. It's
Oh, I
impassable.
see. I see what you're saying. That's very clever. However, like the other kind of side to this is that I tried to take a few like very common tropes like that
Uh-huh.
one and
Uh-huh.
turn them on their head. So we will get to that
Oh.
in a slight moment here.
Okay, I'm excited.
So, and the next section is entitled "Turn Certain Tropes on Their Head." So
Oh, well.
I'm very accurate with my own notes apparently. So this game is going to be quite colorful, not the dull gray, brown, dark. It's like it's a survival horror apocalypse, man. Everything's a shade of brown. No, 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 no. Let's get some bright colors in there, especially for item pickup, so you can see what you can grab, interactables, see what you can do stuff to, and even enemies, so you can see them. Like, sure, this is survival horror, but let's not make the player's eyes really work all that hard to see what's about to come out and bite you, quite literally.
Fair.
Also, it's non-linear. There's no like critical path here. It's a survival horror in like a true sense. You have to survive as long as you can. There's no real overarching story other than that. There's an apocalypse of the zombie variety. Try to hold out as best you can. Ultimately, you're not going to, because that's the game over and end game condition. But it's not linear. There's no paths. There's no boarded up doors saying you can't go this way. More on that in a bit too. There's no waist-high walls being like, you'd like to jump over this, wouldn't you? Well, you just can't for some weirdo story reason. Well, no weirdo story reasons here. If you want to jump over that waist-high wall, go for it. Do it. Be your best self and jump over, or just walk through those waist-high walls, whatever you're feeling like today. So walls, maybe not even walls will stop you, because anything that you have enough time, equipment, or weaponry to blast through, you can blast through.
Okay.
So if you've got, let's say a rocket launcher, all right, that'll get you through that wall, no problem. You got a crowbar.
It might cause the entire structure to collapse on you,
right?
but...
Right. But that's something you got to think about. But say you have only a crowbar, okay, you could probably still get through that wall. It'll take you a little bit more. Say you have only your fists. Well, okay, that'll take a long time, but you could try it. Sure, why not? So no like literal gates to progress here. No boarded up uninteractable doors saying that you can't get through me. No, you can get through it. Just depends on what you have and how long it's going to take. Inventory management, none. We all know Resident Evil is fun with their attaché cases and other limited inventory situations. You're not going to need to do any of that. Pretty much what you can hold is what you can carry. So your 2 hands, maybe a couple tool slots at your belt, a little reserve slot at your back, and a backpack for holding scrap, which we'll explain in a moment.
Can I shove healing herbs in my pants, or how does that work?
You could. I don't know why you just wouldn't use them right away, but...
I mean, you got to keep them for the future in nature's pocket.
No, they're not suppositories.
Oh. Ooh.
Oh,
all right. Derailed.
Right,
moving on.
Right. So crafting. Everybody loves crafting in survival horror, right? There's none of that here. There's none of that
thank
here.
Fuck.
With one, very focused exception. Sure, you can destroy whatever you want. You can bust down a door, or, take out the bottom of the stairs so they can't follow you or whatever. You can also rebuild that stuff. You can build up some barriers. You can put a ladder back together. You can build a bridge across a narrow gap if you really want to.
Yes, we can.
Right? But there's no real like other crafting to deal with. You find what you find and you use it as best you can, and you just pretty much stave off the hordes as long as you can. And crafting takes a while. You gotta sit there and you gotta wait for stuff to get built, and you don't want to f around with that stuff. Just like I don't want to mess around in my little side briefcase thing to find a gun to shoot the fucking zombie that's right behind me. Like, just give me the gun and let me do it, please. Looking at you, Leon. And esoteric obtuse puzzles? No. There's no weird chess pieces or gems or valves or cranks or whatever. This isn't the whatever mansion it is in Resident Evil. Who makes that saw-ass style shit anymore? Like, no. Why would you do that? Why would you do that in a survival horror game? That's ridiculous. So none of that. Right? I know.
See, like now I want like survival horror, somehow not linear, but also Metroidvania, but also something like Myst. That's my game this month. There we go. Done.
There you go. So now you can take your existing one for next month. Perfect.
No.
And finally, a weird, obvious villain? No. Like, it's just you. It's you against the hordes, and you're not going to survive long enough to figure out what the ultimate cause of this apocalypse was. So don't even worry about it. Just worry about surviving as best you can, and then leave the weird Wesker-style investigations. Spoiler alert, he's the villain. For somebody else. You're just going to survive. Well, you won't, but you're trying to. And
you'll do your best.
Yeah, you'll try. You'll get the good try award. And that's what I got. Just a nice little survival horror zombie apocalypse with most of the cruft cut out that I saw a lot of in watching these Resident Evil runs.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, I guess that leaves it to me at this point. Um, like I've been doing every month, I've been using Baroque Creations game genre and theme generator because I have a hard time thinking of original things until we get in conversation and I come up with weird survival horror mist vania. But this month, the title of this game is Shimmering Existence. The genre, the two genres this month instead of like 4 or 5 from last, was puzzle and run and gun. So there's the run and gun as mentioned earlier. The
Okay.
themes are relationships and administration.
All right.
So, all right, it's a
Okay.
1 or 2 player game. The game differs based on the amount of players, the human players that are playing. So the input method, you can use gamepad or keyboard and mouse. Kind of think of it as a little bit like Alien Isolation.
All right.
So graphic style is COD Blops inspired. Sorry, we're coming back to the browns and greens
Yeah.
and sadness.
There's that spread of 3 palette colors. Great.
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
I That's the first time I've ever typed out COD Blops, by the way.
Isn't it
I have to
ridiculous?
a little bit. Yeah. Like I tried to do like C lowercase O capital D colon. No,
Mm-mm,
fuck it.
mm-mm.
It's just COD Blops, all caps. Audio style is in my notes directly here, taking itself far too seriously orchestral electronica.
Okay.
So there we
Yeah.
go. Point of
Yeah.
view, you can decide your little like key 2 button there. You can do first or third person. Story. All right. You and a fellow special ops agent are sent to respond to an urgent distress call from one of Earth's many space stations orbiting the planet, only to find its human inhabitants have eerily disappeared. All their tasks and going on intact, as if they suddenly vanished from existence. No immediate signs of struggle found. You and your partner try to find clues to solve this unsettling mystery, only to discover a terrifying truth. We're talking about tropes, man.
We
Like,
are. Like that is 100% trope at the end there. I like it.
going full ham. All right. So the hook for this one is your survivability depends entirely on the decisions you make, and for single player mode here, with your AI companion. Or if you're playing 2 player, your communication and ability to work in tandem with a friend. So consider some of the shrine puzzles as we had been talking about earlier. So you have tools at your availability, we'll say, so that you can stop time, you can do certain things, you can basically enable yourself to do multiple actions at the same time with things at your disposal. But in this, you don't have magical time stopping devices. You don't have something where you can just magically yeet something out of the way because it's magnetic and things like that. No, you actually have to work with someone. So the puzzles in single player mode, the things you have to do, it's not the same story all the time, but it kind of has similar elements that kind of fit together like blocks. And eventually, if you play it enough, you'll probably figure out like, okay, hey, these are strats. But when you're playing it with an AI, you have to be smarter than the AI. You have to figure out, okay, like these are the things that are around me. These are the weird aberrations that I'm seeing. We should probably look more into those things. In single player mode, especially, you are on this space station. You're going through, everything looks weirdly benign, just empty. Like the experiments are still running, the plants are still growing, all of this other stuff, like whatever. But it's up to you, the human player, the one who's supposedly the sharp investigator, where you can see just these random little bits of that doesn't look quite right. Something intuitive wise, like your intuition's just like, I don't know about that. Like that wasn't just like that or something like that. So
Mhm.
that's how you start unraveling the like, okay, you're finding the inconsistencies in this reality and you're going to bust it open. I mean, spoilers. But when you have the 2 player mode here, all of that becomes more difficult. So either you both have to be doing something at the same time, or you both have to be looking in the same direction for something to manifest or some such like that. So it becomes more of an ordeal when you have more than one human player playing. So I kind of wanted to vary the difficulty like that. When the AI is doing things, it's easier to write a story around the modules because you can have the AI decide to do certain things. But when you're doing human player mode, all bets are off, kind of. So like you can make your own story. I want to have a style of like, okay, you discover this weird thing that's happening. You found the location of one of these aberrations or whatever. The game's going to give you an option. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. Like you can decide what the aberration is with like a few choices that you're given. So like you'd be like, okay, so in this location, the same thing is happening on a loop for every like 30 seconds. Like it just keeps happening. Like you can choose that as an option. You can be like, I can reach into the void and grab something. Or you just have these weird options that you can choose, and that influences the rest of the game as you progress. So that's kind of what I wanted to go for. Like you have these modules that are kind of like, okay, like space station modules, like they fit together. But the choices that you make give it more replayability in itself too. So that's kind of the trade-off I wanted to go there. Like you had these things that are familiar to you, but the way you interact with them is different. So the inventory for this, very survival, perhaps horror-esque, depending if you go that route. Like, oh no, Space Cthulhu or something. But inventory here is tactical armor, your weapons, stealthy communications and cloaking devices, various incendiaries, survival knife, flashlight. Some of that was inspired by Pathways into Darkness. Because, spoilers, like shit should eventually just decide to start failing on you because like if it doesn't, then what kind of survival game is it? But
Mhm,
um
mhm.
you're gonna have to find your way around with limited power. Oh no. But mechanics in this basically are just follow your intuition and the limited instructions that you find and those clues that you find throughout the story to learn how to progress and then execute the mechanics with whatever options you have or the intuition that you have to try to move forward. The objective, of course, is undo the damage, save the occupants, and don't die. So,
Pretty reasonable objective considering what you're given to work with, huh?
yeah. So, this was a little more involved than I thought it was going to be. Like, the relationships thing, I had to come at it like, okay, so I want this to also have a single player mode. And with that, you have to be able to interact with something. And I didn't want to be super cheesy, like, okay, well, my relationship between this door device and whatnot determines whether I'm available. Like I can go through this area of the spacecraft or something. No, like that seems pretty lame. So I wanted the player to be forced to interact and kind of work together with an AI that is intelligent, but also not going to lead you to the immediate best, easiest solution.
Mhm, mhm.
So whereas with when it's two players, like there's a lot more strategy there. You could probably opt to speedrun this game if you learn how to navigate the scenarios in the shortest way you possibly can. Now, of course, that's going to differ based on the modules that you're in. So if you know something is really large or you have to go to a greenhouse to do something or some such, like you're going to have to base your decisions off of, okay, in the past, what I did here was really fast. I can probably use that element in this story and go through this area more quickly. So there is an element of strategy there too. Like if you don't want to just treat it like a roguelike, I guess, and just go through the game for the story and take your time and things like that, you can strategize that way as well. So there's a lot of different ways to play this. I think it would sell real well because you have quite a bit of different scenarios you can put yourself through, and it's somewhat unique content. And of course, like, why not open it up to people writing their own story trees and things like that? I mean, I think that would be kind of neat.
Yeah, player extensibility is definitely you would think rather it would definitely be a big selling point. Like
Hmm.
you don't see that a whole heck of a lot except in games that are really kind of designed from the core for that sort of thing,
Hmm.
like Minecraft or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But normal I wouldn't even say story based games, but like normal campaign based games, I suppose. Like there's very little consideration, I think, given to, oh hey, maybe the player has the player might have a good idea on how to do this. Let's leave that open for them. And
Yeah.
of course, there's the dev considerations for supporting that and all that other stuff. But yeah, okay.
Now
Didn't
I really
want
want to make Vlad play Alien Isolation.
to.
I ended up Light did that speed run at Super Stigma
Yeah,
Slam
that was a
2018, was it?
real good speed run. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I was the only one awake. I was hosting, and Light was playing super late into the night, and I was just kind of like, "Wow, this game is really chill." Like for an Alien series thing, like the speed run's really cool, and it has the right environment for that kind of thing. So I definitely drew inspiration from like the okay, we're sort of on a spacecraft space station thing, but also whatever. So yeah, I'm not personally one to play much in that genre. I mean, like, I like the Rails versions of the Resident Evil games. Like, you and I did co-op, and I thought those were really neat. But when you're given more accessibility in the environment, that's when I start getting a little spooked. But yeah, I really like the genre for its ability to do storytelling. And I was kind of disappointed with Resident Evil games for the same reasons that you were. Like, you're kind of forced in a certain direction. It gets a little samey after a while rather. I mean, oh no, the T virus every game, and
Right.
you shoot things in eyeballs and eventually they stop moving. Like, cool, you figured out the series. But like I like what they did with some of the remakes recently, how they actually changed the story a little bit. At least that's my interpretation. I don't remember the originals being quite like the presentation of the remakes, but um they kind of changed the formula up a little bit. And I wanted to take that and be like, okay, you have the option to make this a story based game. It's still survival horror. It still involves puzzles. And of course, when you're being a tactician, you're administering commands and you're trying to think together. And that's kind of the direction I went with the administration side of things. So,
Okay, I get you.
um, yeah. So that's where it's at. I mean, at some point, this would be a really cool thing to see. Even if we don't make it, I want to see it happen. I'd play it. I'd probably be scared, but I'd play it.
Well, that's kind of important.
Right. Yeah.
I'd hope you'd be designing something that even if you're not 100% interested in it, you'd still like to play it yourself. Like
Well, sure.
you don't necessarily have to be good at it. Like some designers are not super good at the things that they make and then they design,
Sure.
um, or they want to make other people suffer. And half a half and half on that one. I'm interested to see that for your single player side of things here that you didn't go the route of like a Navi or a Fi or something, some real like boilerplate player assistant really that's just like, well, okay,
That's
you
way too handholdy.
exactly. It's just like, oh well, this is really kind of flat
Oh no,
and
you need to go to
uninteresting
the Deku tree, and yeah,
and
no.
annoying eventually once you it's like the first couple times it's novel and cool and oh hey this is an interesting character and then the third time you're told to go get hearts it's like okay shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, like you bring up an interesting point. Like we could actually extend that into like initially your partner, like if you aren't super close, you could choose to be like, hey, we didn't work together before, and we're trying to forge this relationship so that we can survive this encounter. Um, you could at some point be like, you're being really annoying. This is not helping. And we need to figure out how to communicate better or just like have the opportunities to do that to change the behavior of how the AI works.
Hmm.
And I think that would bring another element of it too. I think that's cool.
Like I think there's certainly space for both of those methods and even a third one like you could say like yeah we're working okay together but let's just kind of both go our separate ways for now and then we can meet
Hmm.
up later and be like oh hey this socket in room A needs a tool that looks like pretty much like the one I saw in room C. Oh, here I happen
Sure.
to have it. Here, take this and try it and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, which you would probably still get to that point if you were both kind of side by side working together, but it might be
Right.
more time efficient and maybe even spark a little bit more like, oh hey, I've seen this before, but maybe it'll be useful later, or maybe it doesn't seem all that useful now. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's I don't know, it's an interesting dynamic I think in having not just one player from two different perspectives, but with having two separate players from two different perspectives.
Mhm.
Um, and I've seen that play out a couple times, just when I'm streaming certain things. Like certain puzzles I do really well at, and certain puzzles I brute force because
Yeah, yeah,
because otherwise I'm gonna have to look this up
right.
eventually. And then some people that watch me are like, "Oh wow, how the heck did you get that so fast?" And then other times you're like, "Well, why didn't you just do this, you idiot?" It's like they don't call me an idiot, or if
La Mulana.
or if they do, it's in good fun. Yes, La Mulana, of course.
Uh-huh.
But it's just an interesting kind of divergence in thought. Like honestly, I don't know that there's a better way to handle that. Hmm. Hum. Well, lots of thoughts on both sides of the tropes here. It's
Heck yeah.
which is hilarious how that kind of came together. I love it.
Well, that's what I wrote.
Cool,
Let's make it happen someday.
cool. Yeah. Well, at least we've got it written down, right? And write down your other thing for next month before you forget too.
Right? Yeah.
Get a nice head start on it. Well, I think we're kind of coming to the end of round 85 here. Is there anything else we need to kind of put out into the ether?
2020 be gone.
Yeah, please.
We'll see you
Please,
next
seriously.
year.
Hopefully not. My God,
No,
I
I
don't
now I'm
want another
talking to the audience.
2020.
I didn't do the like turn to the camera thing. Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
right.
Sorry. Um, no. I mean, this is the last insert credits round for this year, and good riddance.
Good riddance,
Not to us,
indeed.
but
Just the year in general is like I could have done without this year. I really could have. Like
woof.
if you told
Yeah.
me back in 2019, like, hey, we're gonna skip 2020, I'd be a little curious at first, but then I'd be like, that's probably for the best. Let's just
Uh-huh.
skip 2020.
Uh-huh. Well, here we
But
are.
yeah, anyways, yep. So here we are at the end of Insert Credits Round 85. Thank you, everybody, for watching, joining, listening, whatever you happen to do. I'm Mr. Bond.
I'm Tormod.
And we'll end with our typical closing track, a remix from Mario Kart Wii entitled Wind in Your Hair by Overclocked University. Good night, everybody.
Ciao.